Next, we'll make the box. It includes the front piece, the back piece, the side pieces, the lower piece and the collar. The collar needs to be sewn onto the hat. The side pieces and the lower piece need to have the limbs sewn on. And each part requires sewing the grid board and the lining. Let's start with the front piece first. It consists of 3 sections. Among these, section 2 is divided into 3 parts, the right side, the middle, and the left side. We'll crochet each section separately. Section 3 connects the left and right sides of section 2. Finally, we'll edging around the edges of the piece. Please watch as I demonstrate the specific crocheting method. Let's start with section 1. Begin by crocheting 21 chains. Then work on the first row. Start from the second chain from the hook. Work 1 single crochet in each stitch across. Finish this row. The first row is completed. Continue to the second row. Chain 1 as the beginning chain. Turn the work piece. Pick up the stitches and work 1 single crochet in each stitch across. Finish this row. The second row is completed. For the remaining part of section 1, continue crocheting back and forth with even single crochets. Complete the corresponding number of rows. The method is relatively simple. Complete this part on your own. Next, crochet section 2. Start with the right side. Continue crocheting from the ending position of section 1. Make 1 chain as your beginning chain. Turn the work piece. Crochet 4 single crochets. The first row is completed. Continue with the second row. Make 1 chain as your beginning chain. Turn the work piece. Skip the first stitch. Start from the second stitch. Work 3 single crochets evenly. The second row is completed. Move on to the third row. Make 1 chain as your beginning chain. Turn the work piece. Work 2 single crochets evenly. Leave the last stitch unworked. The third row is done. Similarly, work 2 single crochets for the fourth row. Proceed to the fifth row. Chain 1 to begin. Turn over the piece. Work 1 single crochet. Skip 1 stitch. The fifth row is completed. For the sixth and seventh rows below, each row involves turning the piece and working 1 single crochet. Complete them. Next, work the 8th row. Start with 2 chains. Then pick up the top loop of the second chain from the hook and work 1 single crochet. Work another single crochet. Pick the next stitch on the left and work 1 single crochet. The 8th row is now finished. Continue to the 9th row. Chain 1 to start. Turn the piece. Work 1 single crochet. Work 1 SC2 in 1. The 9th row is now complete. For the remaining part on the right side below, follow the chart and work back and forth in rows. All the stitch methods you need have been demonstrated before. Refer to the previous demonstrations and complete them. After finishing, fasten off normally. Everyone, take a look. This is what the right side of section 2 of the sample looks like after completion. Use this side as the right side of the piece. Now continue with the left side of section 2. Keep the right side of the piece facing you, on the left side of the last row of section 1. Join the yarn in the 4th stitch from the end. Make 1 beginning chain to start. Work 4 single crochets correspondingly. As you work, weave in the yarn tail for joining. The first row is now complete. The crocheting method for the remaining part, on the left side, is relatively simple. Please refer to the previous demonstration and follow the chart to finish it on your own. After completion, fasten off the yarn normally. Everyone, take a look. This is what the left side of section 2 of the sample looks like after completion. Next, we will work on section 3. Keep the right side of the piece facing you. Join the yarn in the first stitch, on the right side of section 2. Chain 1 as the beginning chain. Work single crochets evenly into each stitch. Finish all the stitches on the right side. Then align the left fabric with the right fabric. Make sure the pieces are not twisted. Continue picking up the left stitches and work single crochets evenly. Finish this row. The first row is now complete. For the remaining part of section 3, crochet back and forth in even single crochets. Complete the corresponding number of rows. Everyone, finish crocheting them on your own. Don't cut the yarn after completion. Look everyone. This is what section 3 looks like after it's completed. Now we will crochet the edging. Let's start with the first round. Make 1 chain as your beginning chain. Turn the work piece. Pick up the stitch below and work 1 SC3 in 1. Then pick up the left stitches and work 18 single crochets evenly. After completing, pick the last stitch and work 1 SC3 in 1. Now we are at the side of the fabric. Pick the space between these 2 rows, that is, the edge stitch of the second row. Work 1 single crochet. Continue picking up the stitches from the left row, and work 1 single crochet. Work 1 single crochet correspondingly into the stitch in the row below. Finish crocheting this side. After completion, pick the remaining 2 strands of the foundation chain on the left. Work 1 SC 3 in 1. Then pick the remaining 2 strands of the left chain and work 1 single crochet. Take a look at the fabric. Work SC 3 in 1 in the corner position. Work corresponding single crochets in the remaining positions. Continue working according to this pattern to finish this round. Finally, pick the first stitch and join with a slip stitch. Tighten. Fasten off normally. The first round is now completed. Move on to the second round. Join the corresponding color yarn in the first stitch of the previous round. Chain 1 as your beginning chain. Work 1 single crochet into the joining position. Then work 1 single crochet into the next stitch on the left. Chain 2. And work 1 single crochet. Treat these 2 single crochets and 2 chains as the corner pattern. Continue working 1 single crochet for each stitch along the edge. Work the corner pattern at the corner position. Finish crocheting this round. After completing, use the same method used for joining the hat to fasten off the yarn. This is the invisible fastening off method. Weave in the ends. The outer edging is now completed. Next, crochet the middle of section 2. Make sure the right side of the fanrick is facing you. Locate the middle remaining position from the last row of section 1. Skip 4 stitches on the right side. Join the yarn at the 5th stitch. Make 1 beginning chain to start. Work 1 single crochet into the joining position. Continue and work 3 single crochets evenly. The first row is completed. Move on to the second row. Chain 1 to begin. Turn the workpiece. Skip the first stitch. Work 2 single crochets correspondingly. Skip the last stitch. The second row is finished. Now crochet the edging at the center of section 2. Chain 1 to begin. Turn the fabric. Pick up stitches and work 2 single crochets evenly. Then work 2 single crochets into the gap between the 2 rows. Next, work 4 single crochets into the skipped stitches on the left side. Continue and work 1 single crochet into the skipped stitches on the left row. Work 1 single crochet into the gap between the 2 rows. Continue picking up the left stitch and work 1 single crochet. Move downward and pick up the gaps between the 2 rows to work single crochets. Continue in this way to complete the entire round. After finishing, use the same invisible method as before to fasten off the yarn. Weave in the yarn tails. The edging for the center is now completed. Up to this point, the front fabric is finished. Next, make and attach the grid board and lining. Cut the grid board into the same shape as the front piece. Note that the outer edge should be slightly smaller than the fabric. Make sure not to extend beyond the outermost edging round. Cut out a hole in the middle with roughly the same size. Everyone, take a look. This is what the grid board looks like after cutting the sample. Next, cut the lining according to the size of the grid board. The lining should be slightly bigger than the grid board. The edges should be about 0.5 centimeters wider than the grid board. Cut out the same heart shape in the lining. Note that it should also be about 0.5 centimeters wider than the inner edge of the grid board. Next, use the yarn tails to temporarily secure the grid board and the fabric together. Make sure to place the grid board on the wrong side of the fabric. When securing, be mindful not to fix it at the edge positions. This way, the grid board is secured. Next, attach the lining. Place the wrong side of the lining toward the grid board, with the right side facing out. Similarly, temporarily secure it in the middle. My sample is already secured. Now we start sewing. Take the sewing thread and insert it into a thin needle. Fold it in half. Tie a knot at the thread tail. Start sewing from any position. Wrap the lining edge around the grid board. Fold it toward the wrong side. Gently pull the lining to tighten it slightly, to prevent the lining from shrinking. Sew a bit on the wrong side of the fabric first. Then pass through the yarn loop left by the tail. Slightly tighten it. Secure the yarn tail well. Then exit through the edge of the lining. Mind that the lining must lay flat and close to the grid board or be slightly tight. It must not be too loose. The folded lining must be pressed securely. Insert the needle. Exit with a line segment after leaving some space. Similarly, insert it into the fabric. Be careful not to go through the right side of the fabric. Continue inserting into the lining. Insert into the wrong side of the fabric. Tighten it. Continue inserting. Exit out. Try not to show too much of the sewing marks. Repeat this process and continue sewing downward. The gaps in the sewing on this sample are larger. When you sew for real, you can make it tighter. At the corner position, fold the lining fabric. Wrap it around the grid board well. Tidy it up and continue sewing. After sewing one round, tie a double knot. Weave in the ends. This way, the edge of the lining fabric is sewn. Next, sew the lining edge at the heart positions. You can start from the middle where there's extra lining fabric near the heart. Cut out a small notch about 1 centimeter apart like this. Then sew from any position using the same method. After completing, tie a double knot. Weave in the ends. The temporarily secured threads can be removed. This way, the grid board and lining are sewn together. Up to this point, the front piece is completed. Next, make the back piece. Let's take a look at the finished product. It consists of the back piece, decorations, and the grid board with the lining. The crocheting method for the back piece is relatively simple. We will start from the foundation chain. Work back and forth along the beginning chain. After completing, crochet the edging around the fabric. Everyone can follow the pattern to crochet in sequence. My sample is already completed. Please watch as I demonstrate the installation method for the decorations. The back piece decoration consists of non-woven fabric and gold thread. First, cut the non-woven fabric according to the template size. Make sure to prepare the corresponding number of pieces. When cutting, be mindful to conserve the non-woven fabric to avoid running out of it. My sample has already been cut. Next, place the non-woven fabric with the pointed shapes facing each other. Arrange them evenly into 2 rows in the middle of the fabric. Then secure them with glue. Keep the remaining non-woven fabric for later use. Now let's move on to embroidering with the gold thread. Cut a length of gold yarn and thread it through the needle. Start by sewing a few stitches on the wrong side to secure it in place. Then, exit through the corresponding position of the pointed corners of the diamond. In the first round of the edging on the top 2 rows. Insert into the corresponding position of the pointed corners in the first round of the edging on the side piece. This creates a diagonal line. Continue exiting from the corresponding positions of the pointed corners on the bottom 2 rows. Exit again through the corresponding pointed corner position in the first round of the edging on the top. Another diagonal line is now embroidered. Pay attention that the thread should not be pulled too tight nor too loose. Keep the fabric flat. Follow this method to embroider 2 more parallel diagonal lines below. Once done, embroider intersecting diagonal lines on the symmetrical positions. Once completed, tie a double knot. Then use glue to secure the gold thread onto the corresponding position of the fabric. This completes the decoration. Next, cut out the grid board and lining in the corresponding size. Start by securing them in the middle. Then wrap the edges of the lining around the grid board. Sew it together with the wrong side of the fabric. The sewing method is identical to that used for the front piece's lining edge. Everyone can finish sewing them on their own. Everyone, take a look. This is what the back piece of the sample looks like when it's finished. The crocheting and decoration methods for the left and right side pieces are exactly the same. After completion, you need to attach steel rods, the grid board, and the arm. Also, sew the buttons onto the right side piece. Finally, install the lining. Please watch as I demonstrate the detailed making method. We will start from foundation chain for the side pieces, and crochet back and forth. After finishing, crochet around the edges of the fabric, and add decorations. The method is similar to that of the back piece. My sample is already completed, and I've cut the grid board and lining as well. Next, we will attach the steel rods. Cut a length of thread in the same color as the side piece and thread it into the needle. Place the steel rod in the middle of the fabric, lined along the long edge. Leave about 5 centimeters exposed at one end. You can take out the leg piece and compare it. The exposed length should be roughly the same as the length of the leg piece. At this position, pick up stitches from the wrong side of the fabric. Use whip stitch to sew the steel rod in place. Be mindful not to let the thread ends show on the right side of the fabric. After sewing securely, tie a double knot. This completes the installation of the steel rod. Next, align the grid board with the wrong side of the fabric. Secure it at the center using the yarn tail. Then, attach the arms on the right side of the fabric. Match the arm with the diamond-shaped decoration above the fabric. Take the remaining part of the shaping wire on the arm, pass it through approximately the top of the diamond. If it's difficult to pass through, find the thickest needle. Use it to make a larger hole in this spot. Then thread the shaping wire through step by step. Adjust the direction of the arm. Align the thumb with the side of the fabric that will face the front piece. Finally, bend the shaping wire. Secure it tightly to the grid board. Then take the yarn tail reserved on the arm. Thread it into a needle of appropriate size. And sew together the last round of stitches on the arm with the fabric. Make sure to pass through the grid board while sewing. Firmly secure the arm, fabric, and grid board together. After completing the sewing, tie a double knot on the wrong side. And trim any excess yarn tails. This way, the grid board and arm are attached to this side piece. Next, sew the lining using the same method. Follow the previous demonstration to sew it up on your own. This is what the left side piece looks like after the arm is installed. Next, follow the same method to attach the steel, grid board and arm to the other side piece. Pay attention that the arm should be installed roughly at the corresponding position of the diamond decoration on top. The direction should be symmetrical to the arm on the first side piece. I didn't add decorations to this sample. I'm just demonstrating the method. Next, sew the buttons onto the right side piece. Cut a segment of the corresponding color yarn. Thread it through a needle with an appropriate size. Place the button at roughly the middle position of this side piece. Sew and secure it in this position. Make sure to pass through the grid board as you sew. Secure the button to both the fabric and the grid board. Once done, tie a double knot with the beginning and ending yarn tails. Trim off any excess. This button is now sewn on. Next, follow the same method as before. Wrap the lining around the grid board on both side pieces. Sew it together with the edge of the fabric. This completes the installation of the lining. Up to this point, the side pieces are completed. Next, we'll work on the lower piece. It consists of the lower piece, the grid board, the legs, and the lining. The crocheting method for this piece is similar to that of the back piece, but the number of rows differs. I've already finished crocheting my sample and cut out the grid board and lining accordingly. Now it's time to attach the grid board and the legs. First, align the grid board with the wrong side of the fabric. Secure it temporarily in the center position using a yarn tail. Then bend the excess shaping wire on the leg section slightly and hide it inside the leg fabric. Thread the reserved yarn tail from the leg piece into a sewing needle. Position the opening toward the right side of the fabric. Place it roughly in the middle of one of the short edges. Align the outer side of the leg with the edge of this short side. Make sure the toe corresponds to the corner at the corresponding position. Pick up the stitches from the final round of the leg piece. And sew them together with the corresponding positions on the fabric and the grid board. Adjust the position as you sew. Be careful not to sew crooked. Pay attention when you get close to the edge of the fabric. Only pick up and sew the fabric at this point. Do not sew the edge of the grid board. This is to avoid affecting the lining sewing later on. Tie a double knot after sewing. Weave in the ends carefully. That completes one leg. Sew the other leg using the same method. Make sure both toes are facing the same side. Align this toe with the corresponding corner. Leave the edge of the grid board unsewn as well. Do not sew it completely shut. After completion, wrap the lining around the grid board in the same way. Then sew it together with the fabric. Everyone, take a look. This is what the lower part of the sample looks like after it's done. Next, we will make the collar. Here's the finished product. It is divided into two parts, Section 1 and Section 2. In Section 1, we will start from foundation chain. Work back and forth along the chains. Section 2 is divided into three areas, left, middle, and right. Start by crocheting the right side, then join yarn. Crochet the middle and left side in sequence. After completion, crochet the edging in rounds, and add decorations. Next, sew the grid board to the hat. Finally, add the lining. Please watch as I demonstrate the specific crochet method. The crochet method for Section 1 of the front piece is relatively simple. My sample is already completed. Next, crochet Section 2 on the right side. Then start crocheting from the ending position of Section 1. Make one chain as your beginning chain. Turn over the piece. Skip the first stitch. Starting from the second stitch, work single crochets evenly for a total of 12 stitches. Then work one slip stitch. The first row is now completed. Next, move on to the second row. Make one chain as your beginning chain. Turn over the piece. Skip the slip stitch and the single crochet stitch below. Starting from the third stitch, work one single crochet into each stitch for a total of 10 stitches. Then work one slip stitch. The second row is now completed. The crocheting method for the remaining part on the right side will be similar to row 2. Just note that the number of stitches will differ. Everyone, refer to the chart for the stitch sequence and complete them. After completion, fasten off the yarn normally. Now, everyone, take a look. This is what the right side of the sample looks like after completion. Next, find the middle position of the last row in section 1. Join the yarn on the right side with 1 stitch interval. Work back and forth to crochet the middle part of section 2. After completing it, join the yarn on the left side of the same row with 1 stitch interval. Crochet the left part of section 2. Do not fasten off the yarn after completion. All the required stitches and joining methods have been demonstrated before. Everyone, refer to the chart and complete them on your own. Now, everyone, take a look. This is what section 2 of the sample looks like after completion. Next, crochet the edging. Chain 1 to begin. Pick up the space between 2 rows on the left side of the fabric and work 1 single crochet. Continue picking up an approximate position on the left side to work single crochets. When you reach the corner position, pick up the remaining 2 strands of the beginning chain and work SC3 in 1. Continue downward and follow this method to crochet around the edges of the fabric. Do this until you reach the middle position of section 2. Now you've reached this position. Pick up the space in the middle and work 1 slip stitch. Then continue picking up spaces between rows on the side of the piece and work single crochets. When you reach the corner position, pick up the stitch and work SC3 in 1. Continue downward and follow this method to complete the round. After finishing, use the invisible fastening off method demonstrated earlier to break the yarn. Weave in the ends. The edging for the front piece is now complete. Next, crochet the decorations. Pick any position on the side of the front piece to attach the new yarn. Work slip stitches along the edging correspondingly. Crochet the entire round. After finishing, fasten off invisibly. Weave in the ends on the wrong side of the piece. The decoration is now complete. Next, attach the grid board and the hat. Cut the grid board and lining to the same dimensions as the lower section. Start by securing the grid board. Align the long side of the grid board with the remaining long side of section 1 of the collar. Leave approximately the same length of fabric on both sides. Leave a slight distance from the edge. Then, use any color yarn tail to temporarily secure the middle of the grid board. My sample is already secured. Next, take out the hat. Align the bottom edge of the hat with the center of the collar. Pay attention to ensure the opening of the hat faces toward the middle of section 2. After adjusting the position properly, sew the bottom of the hat to the collar using the same color thread as the hat. The sewing method is not fixed. Make sure to sew the grid board at the same time. Just make sure it's sewn securely. After completing, tie a double knot. Weave in the yarn tail. You can remove the temporarily secured yarn tail from earlier. With that, the hat is sewn together. Next, use the same method as before to wrap the lining on the grid board. Then sew it to the corresponding position of the wrong side of the fabric. Everyone, take a look. This is what the sample collar with the lining sewn in looks like. Up to this point, the method for making the collar is complete. Next, let's assemble the box. First, sew the lower piece to the side piece. Align the edge with the steel bar on the side piece to the narrow edge of the lower piece. Pay attention, the toes and the thumbs of the arms should face the same direction. Insert the steel bar into the middle of the first round of stitches, along the edging of the lower piece. Insert it downward toward the leg. Align these two edges together. Then use a whip stitch with the same color yarn to sew them together. At the starting position, sew a few of extra stitches to secure it in place. Then pick up the stitches and sew them together with a whip stitch. Make sure to weave in the yarn tail inside. After sewing this edge, sew a few of extra stitches at the end to secure it. Then tie a double knot on the wrong side. Weave in the ends. The lower piece and this side are now sewn together. Use the same method to sew the other side. Pay attention that the toes and thumbs should face the same direction. Insert the steel bar through the crocheted edging into the leg. Look, everyone, this is what it looks like after the side piece and lower piece of the sample are sewn together. Next, we will sew the back piece. Place the heel facing you. The right side of the back piece should be facing up. Match it with the edges that have already been sewn. Be mindful not to sew in the wrong direction. Then, use the same color thread as the edge, and whip stitch along these three sides of the back piece. Remember to sew a few extra stitches at the corners to secure them. Continue sewing around the entire round using this method. Once completed, tie a double knot on the wrong side. Weave in the ends. The back piece is now sewn. Next, we will sew the collar. Place the wrong side of the collar facing the top of the box. Be mindful that the opening of the hat should face forward. It should align with the direction of the toe. Match the edge of section 1 of the back piece with the collar. Align the grid board edge of the side piece with the collar. Then, pick up stitches of the side piece and whip stitch them to the wrong side of the collar. Make sure the yarn tails do not show on the right side of the collar while sewing. After finishing this edge, once it's completed, sew the corresponding stitches of section 1 on the collar, and to the matching stitches on the back piece. Then, pick up the stitches from the side piece, and sew them to the wrong side of the collar on this side. Once done, tie a double knot. Weave in the ends. The collar is now sewn. Next, continue sewing the edge between the front piece and the left side piece. Be mindful to align the pointed end of the heart-shaped hole of the front piece toward the head. Make sure not to sew it backward. Everyone, look that this is how the front piece is sewn. Up to this point, the box assembly is completed. The accessories include the large spade, crown, button loop, scepter, and base. First, let's learn how to make the large spade. It consists of Section 1, Section 2, the stem of the large spade, and decorations. For Section 1, you need to crochet 2 identical fabrics. Then connect them and continue crocheting for Section 2. Please watch as I demonstrate the specific crochet method. Let's start with Section 1. To make the effect more beautiful, here we use the double magic ring method to cast on. Then crochet 6 single crochets into the magic ring. After completing, tighten the loop a bit. Join with a slip stitch into the first stitch. The first round is now done. The crocheting method for the remaining part of the next section is quite simple. Just follow the chart in sequence to crochet. After completing, leave a 10 cm yarn tail on the first one and cut the yarn. Don't cut the yarn on the other one. I've already finished my sample. Starting from the 5th round, connect the 2 Section 1 fabrics. Continue crocheting on the Section 1 piece that hasn't been cut. Chain 1 as the beginning chain. Work 1 single crochet in each stitch. Finish crocheting this round. After completing it, take the other section 1 fabric. Start from the first stitch of the last round. Work 1 single crochet in each stitch. Finish crocheting this round. After completing it, join with a slip stitch into the first stitch. Pull tight. The 5th round is now completed. You can take out the box and compare it. The connected fabric should be slightly bigger than the heart in the middle. If this piece is much smaller than the heart, you need to adjust your crochet tension and rework it. The crocheting method for the remaining part of the spade is simple. Just follow the chart order to crochet. After finishing round 13, start stuffing. Then continue stuffing as you go. Finally, leave yarn tails for closing the opening. Finish crocheting it on your own. After everything is completed, you need to sew together the middle connection part. Thread the reserved yarn tail into a sewing needle. Sew a few stitches through the middle hole. Then tie a double knot. Weave in the ends. This big spade is now complete. Next, we'll make the stem for the big spade. Start with a foundation chain and crochet 2 chains. Then work 1 single crochet into the first chain. The first row is now complete. Continue with the second row. Chain 1 as the beginning chain. Turn your workpiece. Pick up the stitch below and work 1 SC2 in 1. The second row is now complete. Follow the chart to crochet the remaining rows in sequence. Finally, crochet the edging around the fabric. Everyone, refer to the previous demonstration and follow the chart to finish them. Everyone, take a look. This is what the stem of the large spade looks like after completing. The side with single crochets for the edging will be the right side of the large spade. Place it right side facing up. Glue it onto the center hole on the front piece. In this indented area, pay attention, when gluing, make sure the tip of the large spade points upward. The large spade is now complete. Next, we'll create the decorations. The side of section 2 with slip stitch marks in the large spade will be the wrong side of the fabric. Sew the decoration onto the right side. Cut a length of gold thread and thread it through the needle. First, sew a few stitches in any position on the fabric to secure it. Then, come out near the left side of the pointed corner of the fabric. Move along this side. Insert into approximately the third round on the side of section 1 from below. Exit at the center of the starting point. Embroider a diagonal line like this on this side. Following this method, embroider 2 more diagonal lines evenly below. After completing them, embroider 3 symmetrical diagonal lines. After completing them, pass the thread through the inside of the fabric a few times to secure it. Trim any excess yarn tails. Adjust the position of the gold thread slightly. Then glue 1/2 bead at each crossing point of the gold thread. Moving downward, attach the remaining half beads on your own. This large spade is now done. Moving downward, attach the crown. Apply glue to the wrong side of the crown. Glue it to the point above the spade on the front piece. The crown is now attached. Next, make the button loop. Start with a gold thread and work 60 chains. Be sure to work tightly. Note that my sample has a random stitch count here. After completing, leave about 10 centimeters of yarn tail, and cut the yarn. Pull tight. Thread the reserved yarn tail into a sewing needle. Locate the corresponding position for the button on the side of the front opening. Crochet the edging and sew a few stitches on the wrong side to secure it. Then tie a double knot. Weave in the ends. Weave in the starting yarn tail inside the chains. You can work a few extra stitches if you like, then trim off the excess. The button loop is now complete. Next, we'll learn how to make the scepter. This includes the small spade, and the stem of the small spade, and the stick. The method for making the small spade is similar to the large spade. The only difference is the number of stitches. For the small spade stem, start with a magic ring. Crochet in rounds. After completion, use an invisible yarn break method. Please refer to the previous demonstration and follow the chart for making it. I will demonstrate the making and assembly method for the stick. Leave about 1.5 centimeters at the top of the stick. Apply glue. Then you need to wrap the stick with gold thread. Here, I'm using a random color scheme. Pay attention to wrapping it tightly and neatly. Wrap the remaining part of the stick. As you approach the ending position, apply glue. Then wrap it back upwards. As you approach the starting position again, apply glue to secure it. Trim any excess yarn tails. Now the stick is wrapped properly. Next, insert the reserved part at the top of the stick into the small spade stem. Exit through the top. Apply glue on the top. Then insert it into the middle of the dent in the small spade above. Glue them securely together. Now the scepter assembly is completed. Next, attach the base. Place the toy on the base and match their positions. Insert gold pins at the approximate center of the heels from the back. You can use a longer needle like this one. Insert its tip into the corresponding position on the base. You can use pliers to help. Insert it a little deeper for better stability. After completing this step, insert the exposed needles into the center of the toy's heels respectively. This way, the toy is attached to the base. Up to this point, the making method of this toy has been fully explained. If you still have any unclear points during the crocheting process, don't hesitate to join our Facebook group to get supports. Susan's family, supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next episode.